Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel, and today I am so excited to make this video because I finally get to talk about Jamal. Because not only was the video I made on him around this time last year my best performing video ever, but I'm also excited to talk about him because he's just such a good example of your typical young, overcompensating, chest pounding, you will respect me kind of young toxic guy.
Flustered little boy.
So without further ado, let's finally talk about Jamal. Jamal is the son of Kimberly, a fellow 90 Day Fiance cast member. On Kimberly's season of 90 Day Fiance, where we saw her chase very well respected and totally famous international rapper Soulja Boy, the show also followed fellow 90 Day Fiance cast member Veronica. We've seen Veronica, who has a teenage daughter, have various relationships on the show so far, the most significant for us at least being Tim, who despite not being the biological father to Veronica's child, has acted as her father for at least a decade. And yes, this does come up later. And although their official romantic relationship ended after 7 years, the two have been best friends, and sometimes roommates, ever since, and even have one of those arrangements where if neither of them have found other partners by the age of 50, they'll say screw it and get married to each other. And now we get to Jamal. Because although last season followed Veronica trying to establish a relationship with some guy named Justin, that relationship didn't end up working out. But it was revealed on the tell-all that there is another man in her life, another decade younger, son of fellow cast member on the show. It's Jamal. You already knew that. In walks Jamal with all the swag and the finger rings and the haircuts, and he's looking good. Hey, I get it. I understand why in my last video I was getting comments that the only reason I'm calling him out is just because he's so sexy and attractive and I'm just jealous and insecure. Like, I get it. Those were real comments, by the way. I did get those comments. At the time, it was revealed that Veronica and Jamal were in a non-exclusive relationship, which seemed odd to best friend Tim, who voiced his concerns that Veronica may just be playing into Jamal's game, and that Tim thinks Veronica wants an actual long-term relationship to settle down, to be exclusive, while Jamal, with his youth and how he presents himself, doesn't seem to be that interested in the kind of long-term serious committed relationship that Veronica wants.
You gonna live the single life forever?
I mean, not forever, but right now I am having fun.
And questions why Veronica's even in the relationship in the first place.
It sounds super negative, but it seems like a waste of time.
Jamal didn't like that and took it as kind of a personal attack. And as I pointed out in my video about him, basically spent the rest of the episode trying to prove to everyone how incredibly masculine and confident and manly he was, and how pathetic and small and sissy Tim is. How he tries to macho his way over Tim speaking over him.
Now I'm going off what we just heard today.
Speaking.
His emotionally detached response to his partner checking in on him.
I've never seen you this mad, and I just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm straight,
I'm straight, like, whatever. It ain't nothing. I don't have any feelings. Another man cannot affect my superior masculine ego. His classic toxic masculine attempt to bring Tim down by referring to someone 15 years his senior as a
flustered little boy.
Unfortunately, no amount of swag can save you from being an asshole. And with all that backstory out of the way, now we can talk about this season of 90 Day Fiance, The Single Life, where we're following Veronica and Jamal try to have an actual exclusive committed relationship. Their biggest problem right now is the long distance. Veronica lives in Charleston, North Carolina, while Jamal lives in San Diego, and they're relying on visiting each other every few weeks via plane, well, yeah, of course it's a plane, but obviously that's not enough for their emotional connection in their relationship. And it's really expensive. So the episode starts off with Veronica telling the camera that she wants to start talking to Jamal about the next step in the relationship and ending the long distance.
There's no way to grow this relationship when we're apart.
And hopefully convince him to move in with her in Charleston. Have I been saying Charleston this whole time? I meant Charlotte. So Veronica picks him up from the airport, tells him this will be the time you finally fall in love with Charlotte, not Charleston. But Jamal is a little uneasy about the whole thing.
I don't really appreciate the pressure Veronica sends my way about moving. I just feel like we haven't been dating that long yet.
And then says again that he doesn't like Tim.
I just feel like Mr. Tim comes in and the room gets gray.
And this is where it finally gets really juicy, and what I wanted to talk about this whole video. Because later in the episode, Veronica and Jamal go out with drinks to meet up with some of Jamal's friends, and is finally reunited with his best friend Tim.
Hi.
And I guess this other guy, but no one gives a shit about him. Veronica wants desperately for this meeting to work, because obviously she has an important relationship with Jamal, she wants that to work out, but Tim is her best friend and co-parent to her daughter. So with these two very important people in her life, she would very much like it if they could just squash the beef and just be normal now.
I really just wish that Jamal and Tim got along. They're putting me in such an awkward position, and I wish they could just leave the behind and just talk to each other.
But apparently Jamal has other ideas. Before Tim even arrives, Veronica tells Jamal that Tim does not like being called Timothy.
He really doesn't like being called Timothy, so maybe just...
So, to show his good faith and to demonstrate to his partner Veronica that although they've had their problems, he is willing to put water under the bridge, come in with a positive attitude, and try to mend his relationship with Tim. You know, like a responsible adult would.
He really doesn't like being called Timothy, so maybe just stick with Tim.
So let's call him Timothy.
Nice. Yes, that's a great start, Jamal. Way to prove to me and everyone else that you're a big man by name-calling and purposely antagonizing someone. Tim finally arrives, Veronica gives him a hug, Jamal gives him the no eye contact handshake, and they get to talking. After breaking the ice for a bit, one of Jamal's friends finally brings up what we're all here for, and says that one of the weirdest things about Jamal and Veronica's relationship is that Veronica has such a close relationship with her ex, Tim.
Makes us very hesitant that you are still a big factor in her life.
Yeah, it's weird.
Him being the new guy, you know.
Yeah.
And that you don't like me either.
Tim tells us in a one-on-one that although, yeah, Tim did voice his opinion about their compatibility and their relationship on the last tell-all,
It sounds super negative, but it seems like a waste of time.
he doesn't think he's been overly antagonistic or really made it that personal to Jamal, and doesn't understand why Jamal seems to have such a problem with him.
He doesn't want to come into a drama situation.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I've caused a lot of drama with him. I gave my opinion, but I'm not hunting him down to be like, oh my God, y'all can't be together.
Well, you've created a whole storm.
And we go off of strictly what we've seen on the show so far, I do kind of side with Tim. Yeah, they had their little fit at the tell-all, but it's the tell-all. Yeah, Tim was asked about the relationship and said that he didn't think that this would be the best fit. It sounded to me like Tim was just saying, hey, Veronica, I've known you forever. It sounds like you want a committed long-term relationship. I'm looking at Jamal and his youth and the way he presents himself and the words that came out of his mouth when he said he wasn't looking for anything serious.
Are you two exclusive? No.
No.
Whoa.
No.
You gonna live the single life forever?
I mean, not forever, but right now I am having fun.
It doesn't seem like it's a good fit. Even if Tim said what other cast members said about Jamal on the episode, where they called him kind of a fuckboy, even if he said that, I don't think that's that personal. You know, he's not saying that Jamal's this terrible guy. It's just like, oh, he's kind of a fuckboy and, you know, you're looking to settle down. Like, that's probably not going to work. Tim certainly didn't name call and insult Jamal's masculinity like Jamal did to Tim.
Flustered, little boy.
So I think I kind of get it from Tim's perspective. Like, yeah, I was asked my opinion, I gave it, but that doesn't mean I hate the guy. So why, after all this time, does he think I hate him?
What have I done to where you're like, nah, Jamal's just not the guy?
But then Jamal tells us that over the last few weeks, Veronica will tell Jamal some of the things that Tim has been saying about Jamal or about their relationship. And most of those comments made by Tim to Veronica about Jamal and Veronica's relationship have been negative.
Over the past couple weeks, Veronica has told me things that you have said, so I'm just like, what have I done to make you feel like we're not a good fit?
It sounds like Jamal feels like the best friend of the person he's in a relationship with doesn't approve of the relationship and talks mad shit about him. And yeah, that's totally understandable. If the person that is closest with my partner hates me and doesn't approve of my relationship with them, yeah, that feels bad. If you're gonna hate on our relationship and tell my partner to break up with me or that I'm a bad guy, we now have beef. Yeah, you may not be insulting me or confronting me about it, but you're kind of trying to damage the foundation of my relationship. So, we're gonna fight? Now that's all we know about the nature of these messages. You know, how negative were they? Were they even that bad? Was it even specific to Jamal? We don't know, but I get where Jamal's coming from. Sometime after that, Tim does extend some kind of an olive branch and says, yeah, maybe I didn't have the best impression with him, but just like when you meet a new person and maybe you don't have the best impression, you know, if you continue to grow the relationship, you start to see that maybe your first impressions were wrong, or the more time and experience, even someone that you didn't trust initially, you can learn to trust.
You see someone that maybe you don't trust in the beginning, but then they show you that they're a good person.
Tim says he'll trust Jamal more if he sees good things.
He treats you well, he treats Chloe well.
Veronica says, but there have been good things.
But he has.
And Tim says, maybe, but I haven't seen them.
But I haven't seen that.
Then Jamal's friend stupidly chimes in, and I thought he was gonna say, you know, you don't need to see all the good things that happen in the relationship because, you know, that's maybe not in your business, you're outside the relationship. But the friend didn't say that. He said, you know, you don't really need to see how Jamal treats your daughter.
But you don't need to. You're
I don't need to see one.
how he treats Chloe.
As if how Jamal treated Veronica and Tim's daughter, you know, Tim kind of step-parent, is somehow not Tim's business, which it clearly is. Tim gets uncharacteristically a little heated from that and says, actually, it is my business. I do need to see that. Thank you very much.
Far as
I
like,
do
that's
need to
his
see
daughter.
that, actually.
And then Jamal comes out of total left field and insults Tim's parenting?
Yeah, because we're gonna sit here and act like Tim is just a father of the year. We're gonna keep pretending that that's a thing.
Excuse me? Do you want to fight? Because we can fight. Whenever anyone looks back at this conversation, no one can say that Tim started this. Yeah, they have tension and a history, but Jamal is the aggressor here. They're talking about their own relationship, and then you insult someone's skill as a parent? What are you talking about, man? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we as the audience don't know anything really about how Tim is as a parent. And even if there was some tabloid article, none of us are there. I don't think any of us can really comment on Tim's skill as a parent. But however good or bad Tim is, you're still the asshole for bringing that up right now. Then Jamal calls Tim a fucking bitch.
Tim, you're a bitch, dude. Why do you?
Whoa!
Without looking him in the eye when he said it, which is kind of funny. To which Tim, who was just called a fucking bitch, raises his voice and goes, "Whoa, did I ever do this?"
Why do you?
Whoa! Did I ever claim
Also,
To which Jamal responds to by standing up and goes, "Well, what you're not gonna do is raise your voice at me."
what you're not gonna do is raise your voice.
What
at me.
you're not gonna do is question me being a dad to Chloe.
Which is kind of hilarious because I'm gonna sit down now. Which is kind of hilarious because he just called someone a fucking bitch. That person got mad because they were just called a fucking bitch and raises their voice at you, which is completely justified. And because someone he just cussed and yelled at defended themselves, he then stands up as an ultra aggressive move and says, "Well, you're not allowed to talk back." It's as if Jamal felt personally slighted and disrespected that Tim raised his voice when being called a fucking bitch. And the fact that Tim would defend himself at all was such an act of disrespect that Jamal needed to stand up and tower over him and prove to him how much he's the alpha, guys. He's the guy you don't mess with. You don't disrespect me by not liking when I cuss at your face and insult your parenting. Like, dude, how are you gonna start a fight deliberately on purpose that everyone would agree you started this fight? And then when someone defends himself by slightly raising their voice, you then take it as an insult to your masculinity. And now you gotta stand up and be all big and powerful. And what you're not gonna do, I'm telling you what you're not gonna do because I make the rules around here. You're not gonna have an attitude when I cuss at you and insult you deeply. Absolutely unacceptable, ridiculous behavior by Jamal. And honestly, after seeing this fight, it just reaffirmed to me more that the entire list of questionable behavior and signs that I was picking up on in the last video I made about him, these little comments about being a little boy, and even when he stood at the top of the stairs and he held his hand at the door frame way too long. And I picked this up with this kind of masculine needing to take up space and prove just how big and powerful you are. This all just kind of proves to me that I think I was right. Immature, overcompensating, and dare I say, toxic masculine. Okay, so that's what happened. And it was ridiculous when I watched it live, and it was ridiculous the second time here when I'm talking about it. But if we take it all at face value, there is something that makes this a little less fun to make fun of to me. Because if I'm walking down the street and I don't know anyone involved and I see this kind of interaction unfold, where someone seems very triggered about a father not being a good enough parent to a child, one of the first things that comes to my mind is, well, how's the relationship with this guy and their father? Maybe their father was abusive or very absent in the childhood growing up. So now when they may perceive that someone else is either abusive or absent, maybe just even hearing that really triggers them. Like, how dare they judge me? How dare they think I'm a bad guy when they're not even there for their kid? You know how that could be very personal. Like I said, that's a complete stranger that I've never met before. But Jamal and his mother Kimberly are on TV, and we know a little bit about the upbringing. According to Screen Rant, a very reputable news source, I'm sure, Jamal is Kim's only son, and the best thing that came out of her marriage to her ex-husband. Kim was with Jamal's father for 20 years. She found out he was cheating on her, and she couldn't even pick one woman to name because there were so many of them, women that Jamal's father had cheated on his mother with. That seems to be pretty much all we know about the details of the upbringing, but part of the reason we don't know more about Jamal's father is because Kimberly and Jamal never talk about it and do not like talking about it. And to respect those wishes, I'm not going to do any deeper research than that Screen Rant article, and I'm not going to speculate as to what the childhood must have been like or what kind of guy this father had been outside of what we already know, which is that he cheated a lot in the relationship and really hurt Jamal's mother Kim. Really But like I said in my last video about Jamal, when you see a guy, especially a younger guy, that seems to focus a lot on their appearance, specifically their appearance of how masculine they are, maybe they take up a lot of space, they talk really definitively, they shut people down, they act overly aggressive, like they're compensating, put other people down that threaten their sense of masculinity, specifically insulting other guys about their masculinity. These are all red flags to me that someone is struggling on the inside with their own masculinity, whether that's because of an absent parent or a lack of role models. And these people like that are often deeply insecure and uncertain of where they are in life. Because they don't have a good role model to look up to, they're just kind of figuring it all out for themselves and trying to figure out, what does it mean to be a man? How do I embody my masculinity in a healthy, non-toxic way? Or there could be other instances where, because of how they grew up, they had to be extremely over-masculine to not be hurt. You know, what if you had a really abusive father that maybe was abusing you or other people in the family? And the only way it would stop is once you turned 16 and you were literally big enough that you could actually physically challenge him. Maybe that was the only way to be safe. So now you have this idea that you're always in danger, and the only way to prevent danger is to confront it head on with an extreme show of force that's in the regular adult workplace is pretty out of line. Again, I'm not diagnosing him or anything. I don't know anything about his upbringing. I'm just trying to introduce a little bit of compassion that, although we see someone who's acting clearly inappropriately and picking fights, that if you look closely, there are people in the world that might have this particular kind of pattern of picking fights around these kind of topics, and sometimes that might indicate what kind of previous traumas in their life may have caused such an action. So as fun as it was to make fun of Jamal for all of his poor actions on this episode, because they are poor actions, when I'm getting into it, I also recognize, it's all about this parenthood and fathering stuff, and there might be something else there. So we can just keep that in mind, criticize the behavior, don't have to go after him as a person, and hope that whatever it is with him, or if this is real at all, that he's going to be okay. That's it for today's video. Let me know what you thought about Jamal in the comments below. And before you go, I do want to give a big thank you to both Jamal and the audience here, because truly, before I made that Jamal video about this time last year, I was making videos like once every 2 months because I didn't know how to be on camera. I didn't know how to edit. I was learning this all from scratch. And at the time, all of my videos were getting literally like 8 views. And it wasn't until that Jamal video I made that randomly got like 85,000 views. Totally surprised the hell out of me. I was waking up and freaking out. I had a whole existential crisis. Like, so many people are seeing my videos. Like, that's such a weird concept I had to adjust to. And because of that video, I got really motivated and started to see the potential that I really could make this channel into something. And now, a full year later, I still haven't recreated the success to that video. I still don't know how that happened. But the channel has been slowly growing, and I've gotten so many really positive comments from so many viewers on all the different videos that they really appreciate that, although I'm funny and I make fun of people sometimes, that I generally try to have compassion and bring a more balanced perspective, especially to some more nuanced topics like relational traumas. Ultimately, my goal in life right now is YouTube, and it has been this last year. And I'm truly very appreciative for anyone who watches my videos, anybody who subscribes, anyone who comments, anyone who engages with the media at all, because I still remember what it was like to have 8 views on a video that I spent 2 months on. I expected that, so it wasn't the worst feeling because I knew no one was going to watch those videos. But it's because the views and the comments and the subscribers now that really give me hope and motivation to keep going and to hopefully make this a sustainable career path where I can support me and a family. I was gonna say all that to whenever I made the next Jamal video. I was always planning to do a thank you the next opportunity I had, but over the weekend I also finally allowed channel memberships on my channel, where you can hit the join button below next to the subscribe button, where you can join at various subscription tiers and support me financially directly to help the channel grow and to, everything I just said before. And you'll get access to various perks from the channel that you can see when you hit the join button. So I was gonna make this big Jamal thank you whenever that came out, but I just happened to finally get around to activating channel memberships. And now it feels kind of weird to say the whole thank you about Jamal and then tell you, hey, you can pay me directly now. That kind of feels a little emotionally manipulative of me to say that right after the thank you from the Jamal and the story. So if you're considering becoming a channel member, you can do that later, not after you just watch this, because I don't want to feel like gross, like I took advantage of you at that moment. But I guess this is also the announcement for it. So if you are interested in becoming a channel member, there is a join button below. You can do it at any time at various perks, and you can check it all out. It helps me more directly. And for anyone who does want to become a channel member, but also for anyone who's ever watched any of my videos, a big, big thank you for helping make this a reality. And until next time, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoy my content, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the join button, ring the bell for notifications, and every comment helps the algorithm. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.